Hi, I'm Seyfert with the K Grant Group. Today I wanted to talk with you a little bit about fixer-uppers. And not from an investor standpoint, but actually as a first-time home buyer or something you could buy as your primary home. You really don't have to be an investor to know that fixer-uppers might be for you. So the great thing about fixer-uppers is that you can make it your own. There's less of a competition with other buyers because in our market currently, a lot of buyers are looking for move-in ready, remodeled, finished homes. So if you're willing to look for something that needs a little bit of work, you could really capitalize on that and find yourself a really good deal. Also, you get to benefit from the sweat equity and the upgrades into the home. If you buy something that's already remodeled or finished, then you're paying someone else for the equity and you don't get to capitalize on that in the future. Things that you're looking for, if you're looking for a fixer-upper as a perfect first-time home buyer or primary home, would be something that doesn't have a lot of deferred maintenance, like bad roof, plumbing, but just something that has update issues, right? It's outdated. Maybe there might be a smell to it, you know what I mean, from cigarettes or animals that really deter buyers, but it's something that you can actually spend time fixing and making it your own. Three of the main things that you need to remember when you're looking for a fixer-upper. The most important things are location. We all know that. Layout, because you don't want to do major renovations for a fixer-upper if you're going to use it for your primary. So make sure the floor plan works for you. And then the land. So as long as those three L's work for you, you could find yourself a really good fixer-upper. You probably are wondering, why aren't all the investors buying up these fixer-uppers? Isn't that what they're doing right now? Well, the great thing is that not all fixer-uppers will work for investors. They're working off strict numbers on what their returns are going to be. And because you'd be buying it as your personal primary home, you don't have to get a necessary return on the back end. Your return is the fact that you get to live in a beautiful home that you got to renovate. So you can actually offer and pay a little bit more than an investor would, which means you would win the home over an investor. Also, there are a lot of sellers that would prefer to sell to a family or to sell to a buyer versus an investor because that person's going to be living in the home and caring for it. So there's opportunities for you to win over an investor because of those facts. Now, speaking of that, when it comes to the money and financing, there's some things that you really need to consider when you're looking at a fixer-upper that are vastly different from just buying a standard home on the market. When you have a fixer-upper, it's important if you are financing it, meaning you're getting an FHA or a VA loan, they have strict guidelines on the quality of the home. It needs to be livable. That's why it's important to get more of the cosmetic fixer-uppers that you need. Also, when it comes to those loans, in some cases, you can even get a construction loan on top of that that'll help you pay for those upgrades. Now, the important thing to remember if you are getting a construction loan is that there are caps to that. The VA typically has a $50,000 cap on what you could do for renovations, and FHA wants you to keep it below $35,000. So it's something to consider how much work is needed in the home. Some people like to pay out of pocket for the renovations, which actually works really well, but something to consider is for you to be able to get that money back out of the home, you'd have to let that loan season for a year to be able to do a cash out refinance. So it's something to think about, right? But when you do refinance, you're likely going to be able to refinance at a higher price point because you've added all that additional equity to your home. So one of my favorite fixer-upper deals I helped one of my clients do in 2022 was a 55 plus community in Mesa, Arizona. Now, looking back, they actually got the property for the lowest sales price on the MLS in all of 2020, which is pretty spectacular. And they had a VA loan. And like I mentioned, the VA sometimes has very strict guidelines on the condition of the home and if it's move-in ready. Now, this home had that smell I talked about, right? It had a little bit of cigarette smoke. The flooring was kind of torn up, but still livable. It was the concrete floor. The layout was really good, but all the fixtures needed to be updated. Kitchen needed to be fully replaced, and the windows and things like that needed to be done. So my clients, fortunately, were seasoned folks that have done renovations in the past with older homes. So they absolutely love this. They're buying it for their primary home and they're going to be moving in. Now, they were able to get this locked in at the lowest price point in this community. They were able to get through the VA loan and all the financing. And when they signed at the closing table, they already had $27,000 of equity and they hadn't put a penny into the house yet. So they plan to do under $100,000 in renovations in the home, which might sound like a lot, but they are doing it all. And they're still gonna have the property that's well within what the value offers for that community. Very exciting. They're still under construction now, and I can't wait to see what it looks like when it's finished. Stay tuned, because I'll give you an update once that's done. The great things about having a realtor work with you when you're doing fix and flips is I was able to help them identify several contractors that they could use. I helped to coordinate and walk through the property with them during the inspection period so they could get bids from these contractors to really understand what the cost of their renovation would be. Because you don't want to get past your inspection period and have some surprises where you thought the renovation was going to be X and now it's X times X. So that's one of the good things to know about working with a seasoned realtor that knows fix and flips and knows realtors and the resources. And also having a good loan company, because we did have to work very hard to get that VA through with all the stipulations, and there are some things with the VA loan and additional loans that you're going to do with fixer-uppers that you have to be very cautious of. So if you'd like to know if a fixer-upper is right for you, and if you're interested in looking for one here in the Metro Phoenix area, give me a call. Seyfert, 623-400-8698.